Hey guys, Ronen here. Over the last few years, I get a lot of drivers asking me about buying a second and third truck. So today's video, we're gonna be talking about, is it worth to buy a second truck? So the way we're gonna dissect this video is first, I'm gonna tell you about things that you should consider before buying a second truck. Then we're gonna go into what is a good investment. So how much money should you be making when you're buying a second or third truck? The third topic we're going to talk about is how I would purchase a second truck and my 2 cents. Fourth part of this video, which is, do I think it's a good investment? A little bit about why drivers want to buy a second truck. So as owner-operators, we kind of get limited or are capped at a certain plateau. It doesn't matter what company you're in, whether you're making $8,000 a month net, $10,000 a month, $12,000 a month net, you are capped at a plateau. So you're working hard, you're making, let's take an average, you're making $10,000 a month. Well, drivers want to kind of make a little bit more than that, or they want to try to make a little bit more than that. So what do they want to do? They want to buy a second truck to give them a little bit more. So you're making $10,000 off of one truck, hopefully you'll make $1,000 or $2,000 off of your second truck while having a driver in there, and therefore they want to kind of build a small fleet within a fleet. So drivers often ask about buying a second truck or buying a third truck. So although we don't allow for a second and third truck here at the company that I work for, but I'm really doing this video more to educate or to give my 2 cents on how to be successful at buying your second and third truck. I know there are a lot of companies out there that will allow drivers to buy a second and third truck. So this video is more meant for you guys. Hey guys, Ronen here. I wanted to personally thank you for watching this video. I've been recruiting drivers for about 15 years now, and I've heard hundreds and hundreds of stories of how drivers are getting mistreated by their current employers and how they're being taken advantage of by our current industry providers. So I wanted to create a channel in order to unite North American drivers, share my knowledge, educate drivers to become more successful, and hopefully one day to make a positive impact on our industry. Some concerns that I have in our industry revolve around how drivers are being mistreated by their current employers, safety on the road, parking for drivers, and driver compensation. When we unite, we can make a difference. This video on this channel is not meant for recruiting purposes. As me and my team continue to produce high quality and interesting videos, I do need your support in order to make a difference in this North American market. Please subscribe to our channel. And if you're enjoying the video you're watching, give it a thumbs up. And now, back to the video. So the first thing that you need to consider, which is probably one of the most important things, is how are you going to be finding drivers? So finding drivers is probably the hardest part of today's business about trucking, is finding good and loyal drivers. The second thing you need to worry about is what are you gonna be doing with that driver when there's gonna be downtime? So I think we all know that at dealerships today or mechanic shops, the delays are getting worse and worse, and getting appointments are getting worse and worse. So before you'd be able to drive in, maybe within 48 hours, your truck would be ready. Today, it's very common that your truck is not ready for about 5 or 6 days. So what are you gonna be doing with that driver that's working for you when your truck is down? As the trucks get older, you're going to need to pay drivers a little bit more. So in your second and third year, driver that's driving something that's 3, 4, 5 years old is going to demand a higher pay than somebody that's offering a brand new unit to drivers. Another thing that you need to consider is that you need to trust the company that you're going to be adding a second and third truck to. So don't go into a new trucking company. So don't just add your truck to a company with 2 or 3 units. Make sure you do it gradually, just one at a time. So make sure you're working as an owner operator there, and then adding a second truck, and then adding a third truck. You need to take into consideration, when are you going to be selling your truck? So there's a right time to buy and a right time to sell. So if you're buying a 2-year-old truck, you really should be selling it at the 5-year mark or 5.5-year mark. Don't hold on to that truck and don't go through all those repairs that are really not necessary. You should be changing your trucks quite frequently if you're going to be going for the new models and new trucks. I really highly recommend that you negotiate favorable terms with the trucking company that you're with. So for your second and third truck, you should be negotiating better rates. You should be negotiating favorable terms for your second and third truck. The 2 most important things that I would really negotiate is, number 1 is I would make it the company's responsibility to find the driver. Second most important thing that you need to negotiate is favorable shop rates. If the trucking company that you're putting the second truck or third truck into, if they're responsible for finding the truck driver and you have favorable shop rates, then you got yourself a golden deal. All right, so let's talk about the second thing, is what is considered to be a good investment. So if you're gonna compare it to stocks, if you're gonna compare it to real estate, a really good investment in today's world is anything anything, I would say over 20%. If you're getting 25% your return on your investment, that's considered a really good deal. So what I'm trying to say is try to be realistic about your expectations. So if you're putting $10,000 down for a truck and you're expecting no less than $1,000 a month net in your pocket, well, you're really expecting about 120% of rate of return. You show me any investment right now where I can make 120%, I'll jump all over it. So let's be realistic with our expectations. Again, I think a really good return on investment is about 20 to 25%. If the numbers work, and make sure you take the worst case scenario, not the best case scenario, then I think it's a pretty good deal. Let's limit our risk. So how would I purchase a second and third truck? Again, it's just my 2 cents, it's my personal opinion. So the first thing that I would make sure is if you are an owner operator, make sure that the lease on your truck is bought out. The second thing that I would do is I would make sure on my investment truck to put at least 35 to 55% down. So that means if you're buying a $100,000 truck, make sure that $35,000 of it to $55,000 of it is your down payment, and then finance the rest. And do not make the financing over a course of 4 and 5 years. If you're doing a 2-year-old truck, just do it over a course of 3 years. The third thing is be realistic about your rate of return. Some drivers, want to put zero money down and finance over 5 years. That's just a recipe for failure. So don't go with anything near 0% down, and don't extend the lease term to 5 years and 6 years and 7 years, because in year 4, 5, 6, and 7, you're just going to run into, really bad problems that you should try to avoid if you can avoid it. Another thing that you should do to increase your chances of success is you got to have a game plan of when you're coming out. So if you're buying a 2-year-old truck, again, my game plan would be after 3 years, I would probably flip that and sell it and then renew my equipment. So make sure you have a game plan and a realistic game plan. Run your game plan by 2 or 3 other people in the industry. Why don't you hear what other people have to say? I really think that it's very important to get other people's feedback and have it jotted down on paper. So put an action plan together and then run it by 2 or 3 people in the industry. See what they think. Maybe you can make it a little bit better. Again, don't go into buying the second or third truck if you do not have money saved up. The cost of repairs, the cost of the downtime, like you really need to have deep pockets in order to be able to withstand 1 or 2 months where your truck is not running or driver's not there. If I'm going into it, I would purchase a truck, or I would only put a truck in a company, my second and third truck, if number 1, I have favorable shop rates, and number 2, I'm not responsible for hiring the driver. Everything else I can negotiate, I can try to negotiate, but once I have those 2 things, that's my green light in order to proceed with a company and buying a second and third truck. To the last part of the video, do I think it's a good investment? So I've put together a list of 8 questions, and if you can answer yes to 6 of the 8 questions, then I think you're ready and you can proceed, and your chances of success are a lot higher by buying a second and third truck. So my first question, which is one of the most important questions, is does the company that you're going to put the second and third truck into, do they have a shop? So that's probably one of the most important things, because if they do have a shop, you're going to limit the downtime that the truck is down. And the second most important thing is, are they going to give you favorable shop rates? The third thing is, will they be responsible for finding the drivers? Okay, so that's the third most important thing. The next question is, do you have a personal relationship with management or the owners of the company? So ideally, I want to see that, you've been working for this company for 3, 4, 5 years, you've been working as an owner operator, you have a good relationship with the owners or management. My next question is the company that you're working for and you've been working for 3 to 4 years, are they trustworthy? Do they conduct business in an honest and professional manner? So this is very, very important, is how do drivers leave the company? How do they lay off drivers? How do they lay off their employees? Are they a good company or are they a bad company? If they're a bad company, don't even think about it. It could be yes to everything else, but if they don't conduct business in a professional manner, then it's not really for you. The next question is, does the company have a clean CVR and a safety score? So are they red flagged? Do the trucks go into the scales a lot? So that's very, very important, because you can really discourage drivers from working for you if the company that they're working for has a bad CVR or safety score. Do you have deep pockets, and can you withstand 2 or 3 months of your truck just standing? So out of the year, your truck could be standing a month, 2 months, 3 months. So are you able to continue to pay for the lease even though your company is not generating any revenue? And the last question I would ask yourself is, will you continue to drive while you're getting the second truck? When you have a second truck or a third truck, I see that the more successful guys are the guys that are continuing to work for their truck. So they're working on one truck and then they have a second truck that somebody else works for. So if you answered yes to 6 of the 8 questions that I've asked, then you're in a really good spot, and I think you will be successful at buying your second truck. Well, hope you learned something today. Ronen here. If you liked the video that you were watching, give it a thumbs up, and I'll catch you in the next one.